The impossible stones. 7 ancient structures modern technology can't match. The largest hewn stone on the planet weighs about 1,500 tons. That's the weight of 10 adult blue whales combined into a single block of rock. Not a single ordinary mobile crane in the world is capable of lifting it off the ground. This stone has been lying in eastern Lebanon on Baalbek mountain for almost 2,000 years, and to this day no one knows exactly who began carving it or why. Today I'll show you 7 ancient structures that modern engineering still can't replicate. Each one on this list will be more impossible than the last, measured by one key parameter. In the finale, you'll see stones that dull and break diamond drill bits, and by every single site, the same thought will come up. This was built without modern tools. This was built without metallurgy, without the wheel, without writing, without even agriculture. Göbekli Tepe, Turkey. Southeastern present-day Turkey. A hill locally called Göbekli Tepe, rising above the plain. In 1994, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt discovers something astonishing here. Beneath a layer of earth lie enormous T-shaped stone pillars arranged in large circles. Carbon analysis puts the age at around 11,500 years before present, 7,000 years older than the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, and nearly 6,000 years older than the famous Stonehenge in Britain. When Göbekli Tepe was built, not a single written language existed anywhere on Earth. There wasn't a single city, not one village, not a single planted field. The people who raised these pillars were ordinary hunter-gatherers of that distant era. They had no cranes, no steel ropes, no metal tools, only flint adzes, animal sinew, and their own shoulders under an enormous stone load. The tallest standing pillar reaches 5.5 meters in height. The central pair of pillars each weigh between 8 and 10 tons individually. But in the quarry next to the site lies another pillar, never moved, 7 meters long, 1.5 meters thick, weighing around 50 tons. Something went wrong. Maybe the stone cracked. Maybe there weren't enough people or enough time. The pillars themselves are carved with reliefs of animals from that ancient region: lions, boars, foxes, scorpions, vultures, snakes, all sculpted in relief, full figure. The carving was done with flint on dense limestone, without metal, without grinding tools. One more detail revealed by modern geometric surveys of the complex: the 3 main structures sit at the vertices of a near-perfect equilateral triangle on the ground, without a measuring tape, without a blueprint, without writing, because writing hadn't been invented yet. After the complex was completed, it was carefully buried under earth. The same people who built it with their own hands hid it away and protected it from human eyes and the elements for 11,500 years. Excavation continues. To this day, only a small part of the whole complex has been studied. Each following site on our list surpasses the last in sheer incomprehensibility. This was built without paper plans, without engineering calculations, without a single witness looking down from above. Derinkuyu, Turkey. In 1963, in the Turkish town of Derinkuyu, a resident decides to renovate his house. He swings a hammer at a wall in the basement, and the wall collapses inward, opening a dark tunnel. Beyond the tunnel is a room. Beyond that room, another tunnel, and then another spacious room. An entire city descends downward, deep beneath Cappadocia, like an enormous stone anthill. 18 levels, one beneath another, reaching 85 meters at the lowest point, the depth of a 25-story skyscraper sunk into the ground up to its roof. The city was built to hold 20,000 residents, along with livestock, provisions, and workshops of their own. Inside are stables, wine cellars, communal kitchens, and hidden stone chapels. There are schools and prisons and wells drawing water from underground at the lowest levels. Air is supplied through a system of more than 15,000 ventilation shafts. Each level has its own massive stone doors that lock only from the inside. They weigh up to 500 kilograms and roll like heavy millstones. There's no way to open one from the outside, simply nothing to grip. And this is far from the only underground city in this region of mountainous Turkey. More than 200 such complexes of varying depth and preservation have been found in Cappadocia. Between Derinkuyu and the neighboring city of Kaymakli stretches an 8-kilometer tunnel. What's strangest about Derinkuyu isn't even its enormous size. It's that we still don't know exactly who began it or when. Some researchers point to the Hittites, who lived in this region around 4,000 years ago. Others point to the Phrygians, who spoke an Indo-European language 2,800 years ago. The boldest theories link the origin of the city to the end of the last ice age, and not a single ancient document anywhere describes exactly how any of it was done. How would you dig out an underground complex like this without a bulldozer, without a laser level, without a blueprint?
Sacsayhuaman, Peru. This was built without modern tools, without mortar, without a single drop of cement or clay. Peru, near the ancient Inca capital of Cusco, at an altitude of about 3,700 meters. Above the city rises the stone fortress of Sacsayhuaman, described in every chronicle of that era. The walls are built from polygonal stone blocks, each with its own unique geometric shape. The wall zigzags along the mountainside like the jagged pattern of a heavy lightning bolt. The length of the main wall line is about 400 meters, its height 6 meters. The corners of the blocks are rounded, the faces fitted so precisely that not even a sheet of paper can pass between them. The heaviest stones weigh between 128 and 200 tons each. The Rumikolka quarry, where the material came from, lies 35 kilometers from the site. Between the quarry and the fortress lie mountain gorges, rivers, and nearly impassable passes. The builders had no horses, no pack mules, no carts, no wheel, only human labor, ropes of plant fiber, and their own pulling strength. When the Spanish arrived here in the 16th century, they too couldn't understand what they were seeing. The chronicler Pedro Pizarro, nephew of the conquistador Francisco, left a note in his diary describing stones in the lower part of the wall so enormous and heavy that, in his own conviction, human hands could not possibly have set them in place, and that the blocks were fitted so tightly that not even the point of a pin could fit into the joints. Modern engineers have checked this claim with precise laser measuring instruments and confirmed its accuracy. There is indeed no gap between the blocks, not even a microscopic one. The walls have survived several devastating earthquakes, after which Spanish-built churches crumbled to dust. In Inca legend itself, there survives a memory of how it supposedly was done. An ancient serpent is said to have turned the workers into stone blocks with a single glance. Yonaguni, Japan. This could have been built before the wheel, before metal, before any civilization known to us. Southern Japan, the small island of Yonaguni, the last point before the open Pacific. In 1986, a local diver, Kihachiro Aratake, is searching for a new dive site. At a depth of 25 meters, he comes across something very strange beneath him. An enormous stone platform with steps, right angles, and flat, level terraces. About 150 meters long, 27 meters high, 40 meters wide. Faceted walls, smooth surfaces, stone steps, and something resembling an enormous face. The sandstone is around 20 million years old, split into even geometric blocks. Here begins one of the sharpest scientific debates in archaeology of recent decades. Professor Masaaki Kimura of the University of the Ryukyus insists this is man-made structure. Geologist Robert Schoch of Boston University believes it is purely a work of nature. The debate remains unresolved to this day, and both sides have compelling arguments of their own. Here's the key point. If Yonaguni is man-made, it must be at least 10,000 years old, because that point was last above water at the end of the last ice age, when the global ocean level was 100 meters lower than today. If people made it, they were people we don't know by any name at all. Not the Hittites, not the Sumerians, not the Egyptians, none of the known early cultures. Which explanation feels closer to the truth, a man-made platform or a quirk of nature?
The Great Pyramid of Giza, Egypt. This was built without modern tools, and everyone on the planet knows it. Everyone has seen the Great Pyramid of Giza, at least in a photograph in a school textbook. But few know its real numbers in detail, and they're worth hearing. 2,300,000 stone blocks went into this single structure. The average block weighs about 2.5 tons. The internal granite slabs, brought from Aswan, weigh up to 80 tons each. The distance from the quarry to the site is about 800 kilometers up the Nile River. The pyramid's height, before it lost its outer casing, was about 146 meters, and it remained the tallest structure on Earth for nearly 3,800 years. The precision of the base's horizontal level is under 2 centimeters over a length of 200 meters. Modern skyscraper builders achieve that kind of precision only with laser levels. No detailed ancient Egyptian blueprints or construction plans for the pyramid have survived to our time. The strangest thing about this structure is the precision of its alignment to the cardinal directions. The faces point almost exactly north, south, east, and west. The deviation is only 3 minutes 38 seconds of arc, less than 1/15 of a degree. That's a tighter tolerance than the Greenwich Meridian had at the time of its official establishment. Narrow shafts inside the pyramid point toward specific stars of that ancient era: the Belt of Orion, the brightest star Sirius, and the northern pole star Thuban. And all of this was done by people who, according to our textbooks, didn't even have a simple compass. How many people do you think would it take to lift an 80-ton slab without machinery? Baalbek, Lebanon. This was built without cranes. And now for the heaviest part, in the literal sense of the word. Remember the stone from the very beginning of this video? That one from Lebanon's Baalbek on the mountain? That's not a single discovery, but an entire quarry landscape next to a temple complex. The most famous of them is called the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, about 1,000 tons of pure weight, more than 20 meters long, as tall as a 2-story house, precisely cut on each face. Nearby, in the same quarry, lies an even heavier block, the Stone of the South, about 1,242 tons of worked stone.
In 2014, archaeologists from a German institute uncover a third block there, the so-called Forgotten Stone, left in the deepest part of the same quarry, about 1,500 tons. The largest stone shaped by human hands on our entire planet. And this stone was cut for some structure that was never finished. The Roman temples built on top of Baalbek were constructed later, in the early centuries of our era. But the trilithon, 3 stones of 750 tons each, lies at the very foundation. Each is 19 meters long, as tall as a 2-story house, and raised 20 meters up. They differ from the Roman masonry in style, in workmanship, and in weathering. A 15th-century Maronite patriarch recorded a local legend passed down to his own time that Baalbek was supposedly built by Cain, son of Adam, who settled there giants after the creation. Mark Twain, who visited here in the 19th century, wrote briefly in his diary that the history of this place is a tightly sealed book to us. One camp of observers believes Baalbek was built by ordinary Roman engineers using winches. Another camp is convinced the trilithon lay there thousands of years before the Romans ever arrived. Which camp's arguments feel closer to you?
Puma Punku, Bolivia. And now, the very block we've been building toward through this whole video. This was built without diamond drills, without bronze, without any known metal-cutting tool. Bolivia, the Altiplano Plateau, at an altitude of about 3,850 meters above sea level. Here, the air is a third thinner than at ordinary sea level. There are no trees, no forests, almost no wood for wooden rollers or skids. And yet, here stands Puma Punku, the final riddle on our stone list today. The heaviest of the blocks weigh about 131 tons of pure stone, nearly 8 meters long, 5 meters wide, more than a meter thick. The red sandstone quarry lies 10 kilometers up the mountain slope. The andesite blocks were hauled even farther, from the other side of the vast Lake Titicaca, about 90 kilometers by water, or further still by land around the lake. Andesite is one of the hardest rock types on our planet. On the Mohs hardness scale, it's close to hardened modern steel. Modern diamond drills struggle to bore into it and dull quickly, yet the Puma Punku blocks are worked as if machined on a computer-controlled lathe, 90-degree angles, perfectly flat surfaces, faces polished to a mirror finish. H-shaped blocks fit together like pieces of an enormous construction set. Not even a sheet of paper, not even the edge of a thin razor blade can pass between them. The blocks have smooth, through-drilled holes spaced at 6-millimeter intervals. Archaeologists have found traces of pure copper metal clamps on the blocks, meaning the builders knew metal, yet still worked the stone by hand. Conventional dating places Puma Punku with the Tiwanaku culture around 1,500 years ago. Alternative studies claim an age of 12,000 years or more. Even the Inca, who arrived here later, didn't know who built it. Their own legends simply say, the gods did it in a single night.